Donald Ramotar, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Samuel Hines. Honorable Dr. Barry Ramsaran, Minister of Health of Guyana. His Excellency Sir Raul Gordaza Marrero, Ambassador of the Republic of Cuba to the Republic of Guyana. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, dear professors, dear newly graduated doctors, families of our new doctors, friends all.
Con esta ceremonia de graduación estamos cerrando el curso académico del internado rotatorio 2012-2013 en Guyana, el mismo con la mayor matrícula asumido por la Brigada Médica Cubana, 70 internos, y distribuida en 7 centros acreditados para el desarrollo del proceso docente educativo, en los hospitales de Guademerara, New Amsterdam, Yorktown y en los centros diagnósticos integrales de Mahiconi, Sodi, Leonora, así como los centros de salud de Yorktown. Un curso que transcurrió con intenso trabajo, mucho control, disciplina, rigor científico de los profesores, así como constantes intercambios de los educandos con la población de cada región, y entrega total de los estudiantes y tutores para cumplir a cabalidad con el programa de estudio. Nos llena de gran alegría y satisfacción la calidad humana y científica de los recién graduados, al obtener 25 de ellos la condición de título de oro y el 60% aprueba del ejercicio estatal con calificación de excelente.
With this graduation ceremony, the Cuban Medical Brigade is closing the academic year of the Rotatory Internship 2012-2013 in Guyana. In this course, we have assumed the highest number of students in the history of the Cuban collaboration in this country, 70 interns. The training process was carried out in the 7 certified teaching centers we have all around Guyana, which are West Demerara Hospital, New Amsterdam Hospital, Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, in the comprehensive diagnostic centers located in Leonora, Sodi, and Mahiconi, and in the health centers located in the capital city. The course exhibited the control, hard work, discipline, and scientific preparation of our professors. The students were constantly interacting with the population in the regions, and it was also characterized by a total devotion of the students and tutors to fully fulfill the program of studies. We are extremely happy and satisfied of the human and scientific quality of the graduates. 25 of them obtained the condition of gold certificate, and the 60% of them obtained excellent marks in the state exam they wrote to hold the degree of Bachelor's in Medicine.
A los graduados y a sus familiares, viva la indestructible amistad Cuba-Guyana. Gracias.
Our warmest congratulations to the graduates and their relatives. Long live to the indestructible friendship between Cuba and Guyana. And homeland or death, we shall remember. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rosero, for those brief words, but also a look at how intense the program was and the kind of involvement the students were in their period of training here in Guyana. I would now like to invite His Excellency, Ambassador Raul Marrero, to bring his remarks. Ambassador.
Your Worship, Mr.
Presidente de la hermana República Cooperativa de Guyana,
President of the Sister Cooperative Republic of Guyana,
Honorable Samuel Hines, Primer Ministro de la República Cooperativa de Guyana,
Prime Minister of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana,
Dr. Barry Ramsaran, Ministro de Salud,
Dr. Barry Ramsaran, Minister of Health,
miembros del cuerpo diplomático acreditado en Guyana,
members of the Diplomatic Corps accredited in Guyana,
jóvenes que hoy se gradúan como médicos,
youngsters that today graduate as doctors,
familiares de los graduados,
relatives of these graduates,
médicos y profesores de la Brigada Médica Cubana,
doctors and professors of the Cuban Medical
funcionarios
Brigade,
de la Embajada de Cuba,
officials of the Cuban Embassy,
distinguidos invitados,
distinguished guests,
queridos compatriotas cubanos y guyaneses.
my dear fellow Cubans and Guyanese.
Hoy es un día de regocijo y triunfos para Cuba y para Guyana.
Today is a day of rejoicing and triumph for Cuba as well as
Y
for
tiene que ser
Guyana.
necesariamente un día de honda satisfacción
And it is necessarily a day of deep satisfaction
para todos ustedes que se gradúan como médicos,
for all of you who today graduate as doctors,
para sus familiares
for your families,
y para todos los que han contribuido a
and
que hoy
to all of those who have contributed
podamos contar con 70 nuevos médicos en este extraordinario país.
to the fact that today we can count on 70 new doctors for this extraordinary country.
Tenemos la enorme satisfacción y felicidad de verlos graduados a ustedes.
We are enormously pleased and happy to see you all graduate.
Puedo afirmarles que los profesores cubanos de la Brigada Médica que prestan servicios en Guyana y que participaron en el último ciclo de su formación se sienten muy satisfechos y orgullosos de haber tenido en sus clases a hombres y mujeres como ustedes.
I can assure you that the professors of the Cuban Medical Brigade serving in Guyana, as well as the ones who participated in the last cycle of your training, are very pleased and proud to have had in their classes men and women like you.
Para los profesores que hoy nos acompañan y para los que hoy no están aquí presentes, extiendo también las más cordiales felicitaciones.
To the professors who are with us today, and for those who are not present now, I extend my warmest congratulations.
Por otra parte, también estoy seguro que para todos ustedes debe representar un inmenso orgullo haber tenido la oportunidad de graduarse como médicos con profesores cubanos y de ser egresados de un maravilloso centro como es la Escuela Latinoamericana de Ciencias Médicas.
I am also certain that it is an immense pride to all of you to be graduates trained as doctors by Cuban professors and to have studied in a wonderful center such as the Latin American School of Medical Sciences.
Muchas felicidades por este acontecimiento tan singular. Se aproxima una nueva vida llena de emociones y retos para todos ustedes. Nunca se rindan. Cuando quieran alcanzar algo, ustedes serán capaces de lograr todo lo que se propongan en la vida. El secreto del éxito es perseverar para triunfar.
You are facing a new life full of excitement and challenges. Never give up. When you want to achieve something, you will be able to propose and to achieve everything your objectives in your life. The secret of success is to persevere in everything.
No me voy a extender mucho, pero si algo les quiero comentar es que tengan siempre presente que el médico nunca debe sentirse satisfecho con sus conocimientos.
I will not expand much, but I want to comment. Please be aware that a doctor should never feel satisfied with his knowledge.
El médico debe ser un autodidacta que perfeccione permanentemente su método de estudio, de información y de investigación.
A doctor must be an autodidact, permanently perfecting his method of study and research.
La permanente autopreparación es la base profesional de todo trabajador de la salud.
Eager for information, because continuous self-preparation is the basis for all professionals in the health sector.
Es esencial la disposición de cada uno de ustedes tenga para dedicar muchas horas al estudio
It is essential that each one of you takes provisions to spend many hours studying.
Estar siempre inquietos por saber los avances de la ciencia y de la técnica.
That you're always anxious to learn about the last progresses in science.
Para mantenerse actualizados, para llegar a ser médicos respetados por sus conocimientos.
As well as in technology, to stay updated, to become doctors who are respected because of their knowledge.
Deben dedicar mucho tiempo al estudio e incluso sacrificar horas de descanso.
In order to accomplish this, you will have to spend a lot of time studying and even sacrifice plenty hours of rest.
La inquietud intelectual de un médico es cualidad inherente de su profesión.
Intellectual curiosity is an inherent quality for medical profession.
Cuando se tiene clara conciencia del papel que desempeñan, el estudio se convierte en algo muy necesario.
Once you're fully aware of the role you have to play, study becomes a necessity.
Porque en la medida en que estén mejor preparados, en la medida que demuestren el dominio de sus conocimientos, así serán respetados por sus pacientes y por su pueblo.
Because the better prepared you are, the better you can prove your knowledge, the most respected you will be by your patients and your people.
No pueden olvidar jamás que ser médico significa consagración, ejemplaridad, sabiduría, condiciones indispensables para cumplir las altas responsabilidades que cada uno de ustedes tienen por delante en la noble profesión de salvar vidas.
You can never ever forget that being a doctor means dedication, means example and wisdom as prerequisites for the highest responsibilities that each one of you will have to face in this noble profession of saving lives.
Ustedes forman parte de una nueva generación de médicos guyaneses y serán los depositarios de las mejores prácticas de la medicina en este país. Y para todos debe representar un deber histórico, un compromiso moral con su pueblo.
You are part of a new generation of Guyanese doctors and guardians of the best practice of Guyanese medicine, and it should represent a historical duty and a moral commitment to your people.
Guyana necesita de profesionales que estén plenamente identificados con los problemas de su país.
Guyana requires professionals who are fully identified with the country's problems.
Que sean capaces de contribuir a su desarrollo.
And are willing to contribute to its development.
Esto también debe representar un orgullo para ustedes.
This should also represent and be a pride for all of you.
Y también un compromiso para desempeñar el alto papel que la sociedad les asigna como trabajadores de la salud.
It should also be a commitment playing the high role that this society is assigning you as health workers.
Queridas compañeras y compañeros que hoy se gradúan,
dear sister and brother comrades that today are graduating.
Esta graduación hace aproximadamente 7 años era un sueño para todos ustedes.
About 7 years ago, this graduation was a dream for all of you.
Hoy se ha hecho realidad y es una prueba más de la capacidad de los seres humanos por alcanzar las más elevadas metas y significa un premio realmente para los que seguimos soñando que un mundo mejor está a nuestro alcance.
Today it has become a reality and it is further evidence that the ability of human beings to attain the highest goals, and it is really also a trophy or a prize for those of us who continue to dream at a better world, is within our reach.
La genial idea del comandante Fidel Castro, líder histórico de la revolución cubana, de formar médicos para otros países del mundo, surgió cuando se conoció la noticia de que el huracán Mitch había quitado la vida a más de 40.000 centroamericanos.
The brilliant idea of Fidel Castro, the historic leader of the Cuban Revolution, to train medics from other countries arose with the breaking news that Hurricane Mitch had taken the lives of more than 40,000 people in Central America.
Cuba, en aquel momento terrible, propuso enviar una fuerza médica capaz de salvar cada año tantas vidas como las que había destruido ese huracán.
In that terrible moment, Cuba proposed to send a medical force able to save as many lives as the hurricane had taken, but every year.
Nuestro país no vaciló en enviar esa ayuda, aunque, como se conoce, se encontraba bajo los más duros embates del período especial y en el momento del derrumbe del campo socialista que nos privó de toda cooperación del exterior.
Our country did not hesitate to send that help, even though, as it is well known, we were under the harshest attacks of the special period. At that time, socialist camp had collapsed, and it deprived us of all foreign cooperation.
Bloqueados por la mayor potencia imperialista y en un periodo donde en el mundo se daba por perdida la revolución cubana.
Also, at that time, we were blockaded by the biggest imperialist power, and it was a moment where the world thought that the Cuban Revolution was gonna be lost.
Así las cosas, no cesamos un instante de crear capital humano, no solo para Cuba, sino también para otros pueblos del mundo que lo necesitaban.
Under those circumstances, we did not cease for an instant to create human capital, not only for Cuba, but also for other peoples in the world who were needing it.
Asociada a esa maravillosa idea de Fidel, nació entonces la Escuela Latinoamericana de Ciencias Médicas.
It was then associated with this wonderful Fidel's idea that the Latin American School of Medicine was born.
Para sustituir progresivamente con médicos de esos países a los médicos cubanos que integraban aquella fuerza como fueran finalizando la misión.
In order to gradually replace with that force from those countries the Cuban doctors who went there when they were finishing their mission.
Hoy esa escuela de la cual ustedes se graduaron, con su pujante desarrollo, continúa apoyando la formación de médicos, no solo en Centroamérica, sino también para otras regiones del mundo.
Today, that school from which you have graduated, with its booming development, continues to support the training of doctors, but not only from Latin America, also from other regions of the world.
Hoy su matrícula abarca a más de 80 naciones del mundo.
Its enrollment includes currently more than 80 countries of the world.
Más de 2.000 estudiantes pertenecen a los países del Caribe.
More than 2,000 of those students belong to the Caribbean countries.
Y debo decir que unos tantos más pertenecen a la potencia imperialista que nos bloquea.
I should say that a few more of those youngsters are coming from the imperialist power that is still blocking us.
Aprovecho esta oportunidad, próximos a celebrar el 87 cumpleaños del comandante Fidel Castro, el próximo 13 de agosto.
I take advantage of this opportunity because we are so close to celebrating the 87th birthday of President Fidel Castro next August 13th.
Padre fundador de esa maravillosa escuela.
Fidel Castro, as founding father of that wonderful school,
dedicarle esta graduación como regalo.
I want to dedicate this graduation as a gift to him.
¿Qué les parece esta idea a
What do you
ustedes?
think of this idea?
Levanten la mano.
Please raise your hand. Those who agree, raise your hands.
Aprobado por unanimidad de los presentes.
I think it's approved unanimously by the people present here.
Cuba no invierte recursos para guerras,
Cuba does not invest resources for wars,
ni para quitar vidas.
nor to take lives.
Invierte y comparte lo que tiene con otros pueblos del mundo
We invest and share what we have with other peoples in the world
para salvar vidas,
in order to save
para
lives,
desarrollar el deporte,
in order to develop
la
sports,
cultura
culture,
y contribuir a su desarrollo,
and to contribute to the development of
al
these
desarrollo
peoples,
de los pueblos.
to the,
Esto es a lo que los cubanos llamamos solidaridad.
by contributing to the development of these people is what we Cubans call solidarity.
Y a través de esa solidaridad se logra la verdadera libertad y felicidad de todos los pueblos que, como el de Guyana, trabaja por ese bienestar.
It is only through that solidarity that true freedom and happiness is achieved for all peoples, like that the people of Guyana are working for that welfare.
Los países más ricos del planeta hacen exactamente lo contrario de Cuba.
The richest countries in the planet are doing exactly the opposite to Cuba.
No forman médicos para los países del tercer mundo.
They are not training any doctors for the third world countries.
Todo lo contrario,
On the contrary,
arrebatan lo que estos países tienen.
they snatch the doctors that they already have.
La fuga de estos profesionales significa que los países pobres subsidian cada año a los países más ricos en cientos de millones de dólares.
The escape or leakage, or as we call it, of these professionals means that poor countries are subsidizing rich countries in hundreds of billions of dollars every year.
Esto hay que frenarlo.
We have to stop this.
Nuestros pueblos necesitan también de esos recursos humanos.
This you have to finish. Our people also need such human resources.
Para su desarrollo.
They need it in order to develop.
Hace 2 semanas tuve la enorme satisfacción de reunirme e intercambiar con aproximadamente 20 médicos guyaneses graduados en Cuba.
2 weeks ago, I had the great pleasure of meeting and exchanging with about 20 Guyanese doctors who had graduated in Cuba.
El ministro Berry me dio esa posibilidad.
Minister Barrett gave me that opportunity.
Algunos de ellos llevan graduados entre 1 y 2 años.
Some of them have been graduated between 1 and 2 years already.
Pude constatar, para mi satisfacción,
Again, to my satisfaction, I could realize
el alto grado de responsabilidad,
the high,
compromiso y ansias de superación que tienen todos esos jóvenes.
the high degree of responsibility, commitment, and desire of improvement that each one of those youngsters has.
Estoy seguro que ustedes serán iguales o mejores que ellos.
I'm certain that you will be like them, even better than them.
Ese es el reto que ustedes tienen.
That is a challenge you have.
Guyana lo necesita
Guyana needs it,
y este pueblo siempre lo agradecerá.
and these people shall always appreciate it from you.
Ustedes, como ellos, serán los abanderados de esta noble profesión en Guyana.
You, like them, shall be the leaders of this noble profession in Guyana.
Estoy convencido que sabrán demostrar con firmeza que todo el oro del mundo no los podrá doblegar jamás.
And I strongly believe that it will be proved firmly that all the money in the world will never crush you.
Porque ustedes son jóvenes de conciencia,
Because you are conscientious,
comprometidos con su pueblo
because you are committed youngsters to
y
your
porque
people,
están todos convencidos
and because all of you are convinced
que su gobierno los necesita
that your government needs you.
y que jamás los defraudarán a ustedes.
They will never disappoint you.
Y porque los cubanos y guyaneses estamos convencidos de que un mundo y una Guyana mejor será posible.
Another reason is that us Cubans as well as Guyanese are convinced that a better world is possible.
Felicidades, futuros salvadores de vidas.
Warmest congratulations to you, future life saviors.
Ustedes personifican el tipo de médicos que miles de hombres y mujeres de este noble país requiere con urgencia.
You personify the kind of doctors that thousands of men and women of this noble land urgently requires.
Sabemos que no defraudarán a su pueblo.
We know you will not fail your people.
Viva la amistad entre Cuba y Guyana.
Long live the friendship between Guyana and Cuba.
Hasta la victoria siempre.
Hasta la victoria siempre.
You look few in the hall. You're 70 only, or almost 70. That is because this is the group which is graduating here in Guyana. Recently, as was said in some of the other interventions, several hundred more came back who had graduated already in Cuba. So you're part of a bigger vision. And what I like to do, since we did not note you enough when you did your little traditional parade, I want you all to stand. All of the graduates to stand, and let's give them a round of applause that they deserve. This is the future. This is the symbol of two small countries. Sit please, thank you. You deserve your applause. The symbol of South-South cooperation, small countries helping each other, using their comparative advantages to help each other. The Ministry of Health, the government of Guyana would like to thank through you, Ambassador, the people of Cuba, the government of Cuba, the Cuban Revolution, for this input into the future of the Guyana health sector and, of course, the Guyanese economy, because a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. Cuba is helping us through you to make Guyana a healthy nation, a wealthy nation. Mr. Ambassador, please convey our gratitude once again. Now, as I said, you're part of a smaller vision. You're seeing a snapshot there of the team which met from Guyana with President Fidel Castro. You were seeing, for example, President Jagdeo. You're seeing your minister, I was not the minister then, and you're seeing Dr. Ashley Kumar Singh. The team had at the round table there, Fidel Castro, President of Cuba, President Jagdeo, President of Guyana, Ashley Kumar Singh, then not the minister, but head of budget, and Ram Saran, then I think Director of Regional Health Services. Two of those men have gone on to become ministers, and we continue to consolidate this process. This large influx of Guyanese students trained to be doctors, young people from right across the nation, right across the spectrum of Guyanese, regardless of a religious background, ethnic background, religious geographical location where you came from, started with that visionary meeting in which two presidents of two small countries decided at a working meeting of 3 days, that is in 2006, February 1st to the 3rd, to turn around the Guyana health sector and to give us the wherewithal to do several things to make Guyana better. Look at it, that's the picture. Yours truly there backing you and the two presidents. Intense discussions that went for hours, but that's already history. Out of that 3-day working visit, you came, you were born. It was a vision of two men sitting with the technical teams to hammer it out. But it was not the only aspect of the discussions or out of that 3-day working meeting. Other things came out that were key and critical. Cuba gave Guyana the possibility of training 500 gems. You're the gems I refer to. You're only 70. 500, not only in health, but other disciplines, but predominantly in health. But not only did Castro and Jagdeo speak to that, they also looked at the physical infrastructure of the country in the health sector. And in a nutshell, to tell you this, we decided that we needed a little shot in the arm there too. Therefore, Cuba decided not only to give us a faculty to train the army of doctors, and you're the wellness warriors, we'll speak to that shortly, my army of doctors, but Cuba decided to give us the opportunity to create the base from which you could work. Hence, we have Diamond, Leonora, Sodi, Maikoni, 4 diagnostic centers, comprehensive diagnostic centers, and Port Moran, a national ophthalmology hospital, which we hope to also we can serve the region. But then, it will take time to train you. But look how time has flown, from February in 2006 to now, to you, to your graduation. But in that meantime, Cuba decided to give Guyana additional help. While we were creating you out of your student days, making you into doctors, those diagnostic and treatment centers needed competent personnel. And Cuba did come up again with a solution. Therefore, we see represented here to many of the Cuban brigade, expanded brigade in Guyana. Mr. President, Mr. Ambassador, as you would know, Guyana has benefited for decades from a Cuban brigade in Guyana. Coming out of the February 3-day working meeting in 2006, that brigade was expanded tremendously because Guyana would not have found the specialists to man those centers, those diagnostic centers, Diamond, Leonora, Sodi, Maikoni, and of course the National Ophthalmology Hospital. As a matter of fact, on the east bank of Demerara, we never really had a hospital. The Cuban Guyana venture there is the first effort to establish a real self-respecting hospital in a densely populated area. So it's a vision. We didn't just build a hospital, we built a hospital where this government had just distributed 8,000 house lots. So once you have people living there, you need other services. Take a visit, look at it. When you will be working at the Diamond Health Center Hospital, take a walk out. Go across the road, go down the road. Mr. President, I'd like to recall that there are 8,000 house lots given to people from right across the spectrum, the same spectrum from which you come, regardless of religion, regardless of creed, regardless of background, regardless of any other factor, except that you're a Guyanese citizen deserving it. Take a walk. That hospital was put there on a piece of land which formerly was owned by a union. And of course, we were able to negotiate with the union because that's one of our patriotic unions, the Guyana, the GAU, and we got it for the nation. In that settlement, you have already 2 schools. I'm bringing this to the attention of the diplomatic corps. This is a visionary policy, social policy of your government. That's why you need to look at the budget, for example. Over the past few years, the budget for the social sector, and more particularly for the health sector, has been growing. When we first took over in the early 90s, it was less than 1%. It's now just under 10% for consecutive years. And not only for health, but education too. So Diamond Hospital now serves a large area, and it's adjacent to a big, new housing estate. You go in the housing estate, you have 2 schools. As a matter of fact, they built one. And suddenly they discovered that things were going so rapidly, you had to build a second one. Go down the same road, the second school is already commissioned. That is what you're coming back to. You've gone away. You went away babies. You've come back now adults. You have to start taking certain responsibilities. You have to look at this. You will be given stewardship of a sector which will be a resource and has been resourced over the years more and more by the administration. Your days, your youthful days are gone. You're now big people. You have responsibilities. We'll expect you to be not only clinicians, but leaders, managers, good citizens. How do you take stewardship of that great resource I'm telling you about? How do you go beyond just treating a patient, but looking at the social determinants of health? The administration is doing it, and your primary health care approach from Cuba should have reinforced that. We gave them houses, we gave them water, using Diamond as an example, and then we put the hospital there because hospitals alone do not deliver health services. Your approach will be buttressed and assisted by the way we do things in the Ministry of Health. Primary health care levels, we have a lot of health centers, you'll have to be working there too. But we want you to look into the population, link with them. Each one of you need to be a team leader. Shortly, the Ministry of Health will be launching a large health and wellness club. We'll call it the Wellness Warriors. Young people who want to go and bring the old ladies who might have a chronic illness but cannot come to you. And you will be charged, for example, with not only delivering good services at the hospitals and health centers, but will reaching in to the communities as they do it in Cuba. Knowing in your cluster each patient, each, not even a patient or a convalescent who you would have put back into the workforce. But that's detail which we will speak on later. The investment in you as a group, as I said, is part and parcel of a larger project. You've been away for some time, and you might not know of those developments. But the administration is committed to providing health care in more and more places, to more and more people, with more and more specialists at more and more times. That's where you come in. This is going to be a quantum leap in our capacity to deliver healthcare services in this country. Previously, we would have graduated a handful of doctors, even when the Cubans were helping us in the recent past to develop our cadre. Small numbers. Now, you have an army of doctors, But things don't stop there. The Cubans are helping us with specialists at the diagnostic and treatment centers. We will rely on you, Mr. Ambassador, to continue giving us that specialist treatment and that specialist support cadre of collection of doctors. But we will not rest. We are going to create a cadre of Guyanese specialists too, and that's you. Already, we have approached Dr. Morales, the Ambassador of Health of Cuba, sometime last year. Here again is a vision. We're planning your life. We're opening up doors for you, so as to introduce to Guyana postgraduate programs in certain key disciplines, basic ones that a country like ours needs. And with the assistance of the ambassador, a team visited recently, only about 3 weeks ago, and they have positive vibes. They have positive reports that we can do it. So you see, it's a vision, and you need to congratulate your administration for that. Since we have small postgrad programs from other centers of excellence right here in Guyana, one might have thought that Guyana would throw back. But no. Knowing that you are coming in your numbers, the president called in his cabinet at the subcommittee for health. There's a subcommittee for health and education and various things, but for health, there's several subcommittees, and he instructed that the future be chartered, that we continue thanking Cuba for the aid they're giving us. But as a poor country, Cuba has limitations. They will continue to help, but we need also to paddle our own canoe, as it were. So those discussions are in the initial stages, but we already have indications, Mr. President, that it's positive. That team visited several locations where Cuba has faculty, like study, for example, like Diamond, like Leonora, and other areas. And they found that at least 1 or 2 centers reached the mark, and that they can add, Mr. President, add additional faculty, additional resources to even make those stronger centers of excellence for your future development. So those are some of the exciting things you have ahead of you. But life is not smooth. Life is not all milk and honey. So you also have obligations. The investment in your development has been at a great sacrifice from 2 relatively poor countries, Cuba and Guyana. And Guyana, as you know, is now coming out of a certain period when we inherited broken infrastructure, an untrained workforce, migration of skilled labor, and so on. So the investment in you is for a bigger plan, a bigger vision. Investing in your specialization too is to be able to create a better life for Guyana. In other words, you have obligations. And although I will not use this forum to lecture you on that, I still think in the presence of your parents, guardians, and those people who brought you up, who would like to see you do best, who give you to the nation so we can train you, I want to take this opportunity to say that there will also be obligations, and that life sometimes is not rough, it's not easy. A woman on leg 1 deserves the same services as a woman in one of the villages on the East Coast or in Georgetown. That woman too will be delivering her babies in leg 1, several of them sometimes. So we need to be there. We need to go to Paramakatoy, Madhya. We have a country, a nation to develop. And you are the foot soldiers who will help us develop it. And as I understand from the Cuban program, I visited there several times, they create that type of patriotic cadre. We have had, by and large, Mr. President, positive experiences with the graduates who have already started to come back from the Cuban program. But there have been examples, outstanding examples of attitudes that are an embarrassment to the Cuban program, Mr. Ambassador. We know that every single soul sitting here among you as doctors, man and woman, you are far removed from such behavior. But just in case one apple might spoil the barrel, I thought I should mention it, especially to the gathering here, not those in white. We need to serve, and there are certain obligations. And when you serve, the administration, of course, is looking at your future, your specialization, your development. But enough for that. We will have further discussions. We will further parents, guardians, developing them. They're not raw. These are baby doctors. I know they're nervous, they're anxious. Am I doing it correctly? We will be holding their hands in these hospitals and guiding them. They will not be let loose on the public right across the country. And this is why I'm happy the media is here too. Guyana has certain ways that we do things, especially in the health sector. They will be attached with a certain level of registration to certain centers of excellency in Guyana, and they will continue their preparations. Then, when we're certain that they are prepared additionally to go into our system, the wider system, they will get further certification and certification to go further field and to act independently. However, go they will and go they must to serve. To do that, we've already have special programs identified and endorsed by agencies like PAHO, for example, which we will be passing you through before you start to disperse to locations like Paramakatoy, Madhya, Letem, and many of those places that the President likes to visit regularly. As a matter of fact, he has been having very good times when he visits places like I've just mentioned and find Cuban-trained doctors there. At one stage he would find, Mr. Ambassador, only Cuban doctors. Now he's finding Cuban-trained Guyanese doctors there. So we are going to be giving you those courses to make you better. For example, there's one called Alarm, right, which gives you skills to go into the labor room, to fight maternal deaths, maternal mortality. In other words, to push our agenda for safe motherhood. And there are several others, PALS, ALS, and so on. So you're having an exciting time ahead of you. We need you to communicate. We need you to take up the spirit of the oath you took. The oath, the international oath that doctors take when they graduate. In some cases, you will be deployed to hardship areas. You will not be left there to become barnacles in those communities. But at the same time, we expect you to serve. Your parents, we want to thank them particularly for giving us such a wonderful bunch of young people, a wonderful group of young people to develop. We need you to help us guide them now in the few years, the first years of their reintroduction into Guyana. You need to give them that little support when they might flounder. And at the same time, you need to tell them, yes, you need commitment. Many of us are from humble backgrounds. Many of us who live now on the coast come from hardship areas. Reflect how it was in your day when you would have wanted to have a doctor there. We have the doctors there for those areas now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to congratulate the graduates for the years they put in, the good results they've given, and I've seen that quite a few of them have done significantly well in terms of the grades and certificates they have. I want to congratulate you. And I want to tell you that studying does not stop, training does not stop. The Ministry of Health has continuous education. Every year, for example, you need to pass through a certain number of lectures before you're certified to practice medicine the next year. Otherwise, it becomes an offense. And we're going to be making those lectures more and more significant. We'd like you to look at the research agenda. As the Chief Medical Officer is wont to say frequently in recent times, our research agenda in the health sector is poor. Here it is now, we have the brain power, hundreds of you coming back. That's a challenge, but you'll discuss that further with your Chief Medical Officer at another time. How do we liberate your youthful energies to concentrate on things that Guyana needs, studies, research, so you push our research agenda. Every year we have a research conference. I think we've had the 5th research conference now, 5 times. We want you to join them too. The Cuban teams at the diagnostic centers have their individual scientific teams and scientific conferences. That's a good tradition, Mr. Ambassador, they bring from Cuba. You need to take part in those too. You need to push the research agenda for the country. How do you merge your energies, your training? How do you merge medicine into the wider economic endeavors of the country? But we can speak a lot more on your role and how you can influence things in Guyana. For example, we have teaching programs. We have a nursing school. You might want to join the faculty there. Things are exciting. I'd like to congratulate you in conclusion for coming out of a rugged 5-6 years. I know, I was there, I was overseas. Fortunately, you are in sunny Cuba. I was up in Russia, and sometimes it's quite cold there. But I know how difficult it is for a student to carry on and come out successful. I want to thank you for the hard work, and I want to thank you for the hard work ahead that I feel will be coming. I can feel the energies, and I can see them, right? Such bright faces, willing to pay back the country, pay back the administration for the confidence we reposed in you. And the ambassador will be happy, our president will be happy to say, yes, this group of young Guyanese from right across the country, they did us proud, do us proud. Thank you.
Good afternoon all. Today, we not only celebrate the culmination of our efforts, but also, I would like to say, the fruition of Guyana-Cuba relations. The Cuba Scholarship Program was started in 2002, when the Cuban government offered Guyana 350 scholarships. It was later extended in 2006, when President Jagdeo and Cuba's President Castro signed the agreement for a further 965 scholarships over the period of 2006. This became one of the pillars of fraternal solidarity between the two great nations of Guyana and Cuba, and the fruition of the bilateral cooperation fostered by the People's Progressive Party government and the Cuban Revolution for more than a decade. In 2006, approximately 300 students left Guyana to pursue studies as medical doctors, creating history as the largest ever contingent to depart Guyana in a single year since the inception of the program. Although our academic life in Cuba was fraught with many challenges, we remained focused and always found the inner strength to transform any obstacles from being hindrances into stepping stones to excel. Our prevailing motivation during all those years was to make the best of this opportunity afforded us and to become paramount medical professionals, not for prestige, but for the pride and benefit of our families and beloved Guyanese nation. This steeled fortitude and determination earned us the praise and admiration of our Cuban hosts, being consistently commended for our academic excellence over all other students from the various Latin American and Caribbean countries present. We returned in 2012, 70 medical students selected to do our 6-year rotation here in our homeland of Guyana, after spending so many years in our adopted home of Cuba. Every one of us had an initial trepidation, because now we had to exercise our professionalism and demonstrate our medical expertise in a health system and among our own people in which we were at that time unfamiliar. However, our Cuban professors, through their infusion of personal dedication and steadfast support for us at every level, motivated us to break the ice and overcome our apprehension in the face of the abrupt change of language from Spanish to English, and to successfully adapt to the nuances of our Guyanese healthcare system, progressively fortifying the confidence in ourselves and in our own abilities. Over the years, government has worked diligently to undo some of the excesses of the past and restore Guyana to a new stage of economic reforms that led to a greater development for our country. During the last 10 years, Guyana has acquired more than 2,000 scholarships for our Guyanese youths to study not only medicine, but several other important areas for development, those of whom has become the core of our young professionals, forming the backbone of our future development of the various sectors of Guyana. With this historic injection of this monumental number of medical professionals in 2013, we are an invaluable asset of enormous potential to carry on the continued future progress of this great nation. Guyana is facing challenges and will continue to do so because that is part of the process of development. However, only in overcoming them together through hard work and perseverance, coupled with the continued support of the government and people of Guyana, can we achieve a major positive impact to elevate the healthcare delivery in Guyana in a more comprehensive manner. On behalf of all Guyanese doctors and medical students that had the marvelous opportunity to study in Cuba, I would like to formally express profound appreciation for everything that has been sacrificed and done by the Cuban Revolution, for giving selflessly and wholeheartedly in training and hosting of all Guyanese students, and to the People's Progressive Party government in helping us to succeed in realizing our aspirations and in making us an integral part of the government's plan for the continued construction of the economic and intellectual infrastructure of Guyana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Morgan. And I think you represented your colleague very well, and also as the best student graduating from this group here in Guyana. We will now move right on and I'll not keep you waiting from our His Excellency President and the Chief of our Armed Forces. So I'll invite His Excellency President Donald Ramatar to address us. President.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies, Prime Minister Samuel Hines. I want also to thank the government and people of Cuba, to your professors for working diligently and hard to produce and to impart the knowledge to you, to make you doctors and to help in the process, to help to lift the quality of health services in our country. Thanks very much. I know also that Cuba, from the time of the Cuban Revolution in 1959, has set another standard in the relations of peoples in the Americas and internationally. I don't believe history can prove or provide another example of a people who had to sacrifice a lot to defend their own revolution, but who at the same time was willing to share their achievements with countries like Guyana, South America, and indeed the rest of the world. I don't know of no other small country that has done so much as the Cuban Revolution has done. Clearly, this was because it was born in the service of humanity. Because fundamentally, it saw satisfying and developing the human being as the most important thing for any society. I have said on other occasions, speaking about the development of countries, that for a country to develop, it's not only the natural resources that we have that will allow us to develop. And it is not only all the other resources that we have, but for me, for our government, the most important factor for development is the quality of people that we have. And if you look around the world, if you cast your eyes on the various countries in the world, and you see those countries that are developing the fastest, and those that have already developed to some extent, you will find one common factor, that they have a highly educated population and a highly educated workforce. And as a country who's dreaming to go to other levels of development in Guyana, we pay particular close attention to developing the human capital. We are one of the few countries in our region in which we spend more than 30% of our budget on the social sector. And we chose that deliberately because it is in those areas that we affect the lives of people the most. Our housing program has allowed people's dreams of owning their own homes, have allowed many to experience for the first time, as I did when I owned my own home, the feeling of security that you feel in having your own house, that no landlord can throw you out of. Our education too. We are spending a lot of money in education because we believe, as I said, in development of the human capital, but living in a multi-ethnic, multicultural society, it is important that we give equal opportunity to every person in our society. And the best way to do that is to enhance the human capital. That is why it gives me a great sense of satisfaction when I go into the interior, despite the problems that we still have, to see building secondary schools with dormitories so that the people, the students, the children in the interior will have the same education as those on the coastline. And while we have achieved already universal primary education, it is my hope that long before I leave the post of president, that we will have universal secondary education in our country. And that is something that we all must work to ensure that we empower all our people so that each one of them will have the same opportunity of what our country can provide. One of the important things about the health service too, it is also at the pivot in some ways. Because as you probably know, more than I in your scientific studies, that everything is connected one way or the other. And in our society, the social sector is linked to the economic sector, the political developments, all are linked together. And any one of them that has problems obviously will affect the others. And those that are growing strong will help to pull the others and give them strength as well. And in building our economy, we will need to have a healthy workforce. We need to have people who will live longer and live more productive lives. And I look forward to you not only to cure the sick, which is essentially what you train to do, but also to prevent people from getting sick. And therefore you have another role to play as an educator, to teach people, to help them to live healthy lives. In today's world too, there are so many vices around. A lot of our young people get caught up, and very brilliant ones sometimes are lost to us because of drugs, sometimes crime, and other things in the society, antisocial things in the society that we have to continue to fight against. But I believe that if you, as young doctors, can be an example, be a role model for our young people, allow them to understand what harm they do to themselves when they get involved in so many antisocial activities, like involving in narcotics and things of that nature. I think if they are aware of the dangers of these things, that we can bring down, that will be a major contribution in helping in the fight against the merchants of death that peddle these stuff. I want to, however, repeat for the sake of emphasis something that your Minister of Health has said just now, that all the people of Guyana are important, that all of them deserve the best type of service. And therefore, you should not feel that being posted to a remote area is the worst thing that can happen to you, but to see yourselves as having an opportunity to deliver services to those people who probably need it the most. And I want to urge all of you, as the Minister said, we will not leave you there forever, but it is important that you serve. I have some personal knowledge about being posted outside. Not me personal in the sense that my wife was a nurse as well. And she was posted to several parts in the interior. In fact, where I met her and started to quote her was in Bartica. So I just want to urge you that it's important that all our people deserve services, and we should not shy away from giving them services wherever they are. Once more, I want to take the opportunity of congratulating you, of thanking your professors for a job well done, of thanking the Cuban government and the Cuban people, and on your behalf also to thank your parents for bringing up such a fine bunch of people, and I'm sure that you will make all of us proud. Thank you very much for your attention.
you very much, Mr. President. I'm sure the students are all charged up and ready to, the doctors, our new doctors, are ready to proceed on their service to our public. In closing and bringing the curtain down on this part of our program, I would like to, first of all, recognize a few persons who are in our audience. We have the Director of Maternal Services, Dr. Wilford, Dr. Amir, and Mr. Khan from Georgetown Hospital. Let me recognize Dr. Chu, who is representing Pan American Health Organization here, and sincerely thank all who organized this ceremony this evening.